It's time for Over There with Mirella Rastorfer. Mirella is our European correspondent. She joins us weekly. She is over there in Switzerland, I believe, Zurich to be precise. But again, this is all subject to change. Hello, Mirella. How are you?
Hello, Jill. Very well, thank you. Yes, it is subject to change as of tomorrow. But in the meantime, I wanted to talk to you about the Brexit because we have been talking about the Brexit for years and years.
And years.
And among the news of these days that are absolutely catastrophic, mainly because of this new virus spreading around the globe, the Brexit didn't make much noise. It did happen, though. The Brexit did happen, and Britain left the European Union on Friday, the 31st, a few days ago, at 11 p.m. after 47 years of membership. This is not nothing. It's almost half a century. So this, of course, it was surprising that it didn't make a little bit more headlines. But again, I guess we are living through some very special circumstances. In any case, it did happen. Who was happy? Who was unhappy? I would say that a lot of the European countries really regretted this exit. For example, French President Macron really said how much he thought that was a pity, and many others did the same. At this point, I think they all hope that it will be possible to work together closely as partners, if not as member of the same union. The one that were definitely very unhappy were the Scots. Let's not forget that in 2016, 62% did not want to leave the European Union. Only 38% wanted out. So that those numbers are very significant, and it obviously, if they ever manage to become independent, they will probably try to join the European Union again. This is at least what Nicola Sturgeon made clear, which she got some support and some criticism, support from the former European Council, Donald Tusk, who said that he could understand why they would like to join the European Union again. Other people thought that those words were kind of irresponsible. We do know that sometimes independency goes hand in hand with protest, with months of difficult negotiation. Let's think, for example, at Catalonia in Spain, who also wanted to become independent. Independence is not an easy status to reach. In any case, if that would even become reality one day, Scotland knows that they are not going to get any special treatment, and that they would have to go through the entire application as all the countries that have already applied. With one delicate point, though, the fact that they would have probably to join also the currency, take the euro, and knowing how the importance of the pounds, I am quite sure that traditionally that would be a difficult step. But this is really very far in the future. And for the moment, the Brexit is about closing a deal, a trade deal with the European Union. And this is now how it's becoming really interesting, because Boris Johnson is very confident. Is absolutely saying that either this trade deal with the European Union is a Canada-style free trade agreement or nothing. So I think at this point it's important to maybe highlight what is the Canada-style trade agreement. It's an excellent agreement for both parties, in the sense that 98% of all tariffs on goods between Canada and the European Union are duty-free. They have also protected some local specialties, like the names of different cheeses or hams. So certain things are protected, but nevertheless, they can travel between Canada and the European Union without tariffs. And companies from both sides have the possibility also to pitch in each other projects, construction of all sorts, which means that also opens a form of business between the two entities. What's also very interesting is that quotas have been increased. That means that if, for example, an X amount of cheese, for example, was allowed to be traded between the two entities, now this amount has been increased. If it goes over a certain quantity, then there are some tariffs, but it is already a very, very good step. And it shows, in the sense that certain products like chocolate, like ham, like cheese, some countries already have a very visible increase of their business. So the very important thing also is that some standards of quality have been matched between the two entities, and that means that when something arrives in Canada or in Europe, there is no need to control if it's up to the standards, because those standards have been matched. And this is a very big point also that has first to be reached with the United Kingdom. A few things are more difficult still to move from the country, and it includes, for example, meat and eggs. But there are also some quotas. So one would say, what is the difference then between Canada and the European Union and England and the European Union? Why would such an agreement not be possible? Well, for once, the amount of external trade that goes from Canada to the EU is about 10% of Canada trade. While for the United Kingdoms, it's 43%. So the United Kingdoms are, I would say, the European Union is essential for England the way it is now. Obviously, they are also going to try to get now some independent deals with other countries, which would make them most probably less dependent on the European Union. But I believe that in many ways, a close agreement would be beneficial to both parties. One very important point are those standards, those quality standards. As of now, the way it is, things will have to be evaluated because there is no trade agreement. even though until the end of the year things are supposed to be smooth, and as of the end of 2020, either there is a trade agreement or there isn't. So there is like a good year to work on this agreement. So I would say that Prime Minister Johnson is very confident that it's possible. He even said that the relationship with the EU would be either comparable to what has been done with Canada or more like Australia. With that, he wanted obviously to say that either it's going to be a very good trade for both parties, a very close one, or it's going to be a very loose one, like with a country that he picked, like Australia, and then they will just pursue other ways to do business. In either case, he has, and I quote, "I have no doubt that Britain will prosper." So I think at this point, while the negotiation before Christmas were always very, very tense, at times almost a little aggressive, I think that right now there is the will for a good trade agreement, because in all objectivity, it would be good for the United Kingdoms, but it would be equally good for the European Union. Also because England is part of the European continent and in many ways has an important place to fill. Let's think also about security, about all sorts of worldwide problems that are better faced together as just alone. So I would say at this point there is a good chance that a trade agreement will be reached before the end of the year.